So here we are the day after the day, Hayom, the day Yom Kippur. And the Alter Rebbe gives us a vote for getting a good start. Good start. So after the conclusion of Yom Kippur in 1795 in Liozna, the Alter Rebbe delivered a public discourse. The discourses were brief, as usual then, on the verse, who is like Hashem our God? Who is like God? Whenever we call upon him. On which the sages comment, upon him and not his attributes. And of course, we understand that very well, right? We know his attributes from Chesed to Malchus. We know his Seichel from Chochmah to Das. And we know his Keser from Atik, from Arach to Atik. And we know Atzmus. We've been learning all that. Atzmus, Keser, Seichel, Midos. So when you call upon him, you're calling upon a deeper level, not his attributes. The Pardes, Rav Moshe Kudavera explains that the word him, he himself and him, in the sages' comment upon him and not upon his attributes, refers to the oros, the lights, the oros, radiance or illuminations as they are invested in the vessels of the 10 spheres of Atzilus. The Rebbe, the Baal Shem Tov, this is the Alter Rebbe speaking about his Rebbe's Rebbe, the Baal Shem Tov, says that upon him refers to Elikus, the Godhead invested in the vessels of the 10 spheres of Atzilus. Now, the Alter Rebbe says the simple meaning of upon him refers to the essence itself, him, he who he is, he, myself, and I, nobody else refers, and no aspect of me, the essence of the Ein Sof, of which every ordinary Jew has inherent knowledge through his simple emunah. You say we have knowledge, awareness, experience of Atzmos itself through our simple emunah. This is the meaning of to be close to him, to the person, and whenever we call to him, to God, to be close to him and to call upon him. These two expressions refer respectively to the essence of the Ein Sof and the essence of the soul. So davening with simple faith joins the essence of our soul, the soul, with the essence of the Ein Sof, so that the essence of the Ein Sof will be the healer of the sick and he who blesses the ears. Which is quite a wonderful word for walking away from Yom Kippur. When we had this relationship, Achas B'Shana, we said how many times, Achas, with the one, the essence, is what's embedded in our soul, and we carry with us. Precious cargo. Be careful what you do with it. All right, lessons in Tanya. We're continuing and actually finishing our long chapter 20, describing the pathway, so to speak, from essence to this physical world, based on the construct that's given to us primarily in the Kabbalah of Avraham Avinu, Sefer Yetzirah, that the beginning, essence, is wedged specifically in the end. That's what he told us today, right? The essence of God is wedged down here in our neshamas as they are in the goof, in the body. So we're starting here on the bottom of page 406 in Lessons in Tanya. And in the Kuti Amorim, we're starting here on page Kuf Lamed Beis, opposite page 262. And this time we'll count up from the bottom because we're close to the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines up from the bottom. The line begins Elikus, and we're starting way over. Abbreviation. According to what's written in the book on incarnations, Perek Beis, which is Huvel B'Lekuti Torah, B'Lekuti Amorim, which is brought by the Alter Rebbe in chapters in the 50s, somewhere in the 50s. Mislabshis techila ha'ora zu. So he's back talking about the ha'ora, the original kav, right? Before the kav, before the Hashem beams out anything, there's just his essence. And then he beams out his essence through this kav, this singular beam of light. And this singular beam of light becomes the radiant frequency for the which impels and drives all of creation, all of reality. So, according to what's written in Sefer Gilgulin and brought in Tanya, Mislabeshes Lechila, this kav, this ha'ora zu, this ray from the original kav, shelakav, of the Or Ein Sof, in the Om sense, the way it comes down, the beginning is wedged in the end. It's wedged into, meaning it implants itself and, wedged, like something wedged in, can't be released from, in the world of Asiya. And as you might expect, it starts with levels. There are 4 worlds, and each world has 4 levels. There's, as we're about to say, Atzilus Shabasiya, there's Atzilus Shabasiya, and then comes down the Bria of Asiya, and Yetzira Shabasiya, until it comes down to Asiya Shabasiya. So remember, Atzilus itself is that place where the Zohar says that the vessels and the lights are virtually inseparable from each other, so that the vessels have the experience of the light. Now, of course, as this comes down and down and down, that essence, infusion of essence into the original kav gets obfuscated by the Tzimtzum, but it resides down here below. And that's one of the secrets of why down here below is specifically the place where we speak about the light which comes from darkness. It's the light of the Ein Sof itself as it emerges from this dark shell of the Tzimtzum. And it's planted down here. And mehen lebechinas or haneshama. And it's from this light of the original kav that the neshama takes its life, the neshama which is invested in the body. And this neshama of Malchus, the Malchus of Atziyah. That's the neshama invested in the body, but it's also, and particularly what he's going to focus on here, is the godliness which is invested in the physicality of this world, which is Malchus of Asiya, the bottom of the bottom. The bottom is the world of Asiya. The bottom of the bottom is Malchus of Asiya. And we're going to give some properties of the earth, which will indicate its infinity clothed in very, very finite finitude. For instance, through this embodiment or enclosure or encapsulation, or whatever you want to call it, of the Or Ein Sof, specifically and particularly in down here below, because of that infusion of the infinite and the essence down here below, there's a great power in this end game, the siyum, the bottom of the vessels of Malchus of Asiya, should be said to offer. So this is the world of Asiya, right? And in this world of Asiya are physical things. If you go top to bottom in the hierarchy, the human being, and then the animal, and then the plant, and then the dirt. So if you really want to get into the beginning is wedged in the end, we're going to use here the dirt, the bottom of the bottom. Should be sorry to offer. And this investing of the Or Ein Sof into the dirt is expressed in the Torah by the mimer that God said, Tiche Oretz Desha, let the earth spring forth vegetation. This is the activity of the Or Ein Sof in the physical earth. So the Torah is telling us the earth, unlike the worries of the people who are concerned about the earth, we're draining the earth of its capabilities. No, the power of Ein Sof is invested specifically in the earth and is there l'olam vo'ed, forever. This is the Bechina, this that we've just spoken about is the category of the Ein Sof, of the infinite, and it wasn't invested into the earth only on the 6 days of the creation, turning to page 264, Kamaimer, there was this expression, Yisratzu Hamayim, let the waters swarm with living life, or Maimer Toise Ha'oretz Nefesh Chaya, or that the earth should bring forth living things. Mechochma the Malchus of Etzia, and that was derived from the Chochma of Malchus of Etzia, Malchus being the bottom of any world, and this is Malchus of Etzia, the bottom of the bottom. These are the mimers that were said in the 7 days of creation. There was a light invested by Olam Hazeh into this world. Ha'or, and what was this light? It was a ray, me'or ein sof, from the ha'or, the radiation of the ein sof, bechesed chinam. It came without, there was nothing to provoke it. He created it, so it's called chesed chinam. He gave it, not because someone drew it out of him, because there was no someone, there was no something to draw it out of him. He did this on his own, without any arousal from below and above at all, because below hadn't been created yet. As we say, he's giving us something, reminding us that from that time on, the relationship is that everything that God does is provoked by what we do, right? The arousal from below provokes an arousal from above. But before there was any below, there was his arousal from above freely. And what did it do? This arousal from above. It sprouted forth grasses, ve'elonis, and trees, ve'peros, me'ayin liyesh, from nothing to something. Tommy, and this is coming back to the point that this aura of the Or Ein Sof is always now, from that day on. We spoke about this at length in Shar Yichud V'Emunah, the second section of Tanya, that Hashem continually, always, infinitely, forever invests himself in this. And so this coming into being from nothing to something is something that's going on continually. And we see this, for example, in the way produce springs from the earth. Which is something like the Ein Sof. In other words, he'll give us some good examples of a produce springs from the earth from either no stimulation, that means no farming, these are the wild grasses, or from the stimulation of planting and sowing and cultivating and reaping, but which comes from the source of that ability to growth is something which reflects the Or Ein Sof, because it comes from the Or Ein Sof. If the world were to exist for tens upon tens upon tens of thousands of years, they would forever give forth b'shana, year after year after year, the wild grasses. But there are other things besides the wild grasses which are cultivated, right? Which require mayim nuchtin, the arousal from below. We have to do something. We have to plant a seed into the ground in order for the ground to release its infinite power of growth. That's called halos man, the elevation of the feminine waters. The heim hazaroyim hanatuyim. These are planting seeds for flowers and planting trees. Nevertheless, heim kamo yesh ma'ayin, but they're still like a yesh ma'ayin. They're not coming on their own, but they still have this quality of yesh ma'ayin. Shigaroyin hanatuyin ein le era klal. How is that? If you look at the seed bears absolutely zero resemblance to what comes from the seed. So the seed is like, and it's like a seminal drop. It's a nothing, and amazing things sprout from it. So this is similar. So this is kamoi. This is something like yesh ma'ayin. And they are a klal lagabi hapri, because the seed bears no resemblance to the fruit, right? Just like yesh ma'ayin. The ayin bears no resemblance to the yesh. The yesh bears no resemblance to the ayin. And if we speak about all the trees, and the leaves of the trees, the branches, etc., and also if you look, there are different kinds of seeds, and different kinds of vegetables, all in the same category, vegetable, but different kinds. And also the growth from the fields, wheat and oats and barley. It's like a yesh ma'ayin. You plant a seed and you get a sprout of something. Not only you get a sprout, but you get something that's now has in it something that's edible and can give, not only edible, you can eat it, it's required. You need to eat from the field in order to be alive. So that little seed, which looks like nothing, expands into the tree, into the shibolis, the stalks and the trees and the fruit, and contains in it the nourishment that a human being needs. And this is a form of yesh ma'ayin, from the seed to the sprout to the tree. Makol shekain, hakashim v'ashibolim, and how much more so when you see like big fruits like cucumbers and wheat on the stalk. These fruits, which come through what we're calling, what Kabbalah and Chassidus calls mayim nuchbin, the arousal of the feminine waters, the arousal from below, the planting of the seed in the Mother Earth, right? And he doesn't mention it here, but in the Mother Earth is called the koyach hatenu, the power of growth. The power of growth is dormant in the earth and stimulated by the seed. Hu hazriv v'natia, that's planting the seed, planting the tree. Hem shuvochim ha'oid ma'oid, and these things are not small things. These are very, as he says, praiseworthy, fine fruits and beautiful vegetables. Maha'oilim alehem, which seem to come up on their own. You put a seed in the ground, you water it, and boom, one day something pops through, and it grows and grows and grows, and it seems to be growing on its own. And what is it? He doesn't mention. What is it that's actually bringing it forth? It's the koyach hatzameach, the power of growth, which is lavade ba'ordes, which alone is in the earth. The power to grow comes from the earth. And from this that we've just described, excuse me. From this we just described, will be understood, not skill. So this is a metaphor for the way the lights come, the supernal lights come into Atzilas Birin Yitzira, Shehu Taklis Biris Ha'odam, and the point of it all is the bottom, Riyas Ha'odam, the creation of man down here on planet Earth, as is written in another place. And that concludes the Ageres HaKodesh for Yom Kippur. Now today, from all that we've just said, will be understood, well, the order of levels, daimim, inanimate, that's the daled, tzomeach, plant, kai, animal, and then medaber. This is bottom up, right? Earth, plant, animal, person. Shehen bechinas offer mayim ish ruach, which correspond to offer, which is dust, mayim, of course, the plants, ish, fire, is the animal, and ruach, spirit, is the man. Ruach Ramalala, it's called the speaking spirit. Even though in the hierarchy of things, the animal is higher than the plant, and the human is on top of the heap, higher than the animal. Nevertheless, the animal is sustained by the plants. In a Maimon L'Kutei Torah, the Alter Rebbe poses this as a question. The question is, have you ever thought about how it is that the higher forms of life need to come on to the lower forms of life? What do they have to give? Well, the answer is here on this page. The koyach ha'en, the beginning is wedged in the end. The koyach ha'en sof is not wedged in the man or the animal or the plant. It's wedged into the earth. So the koyach ha'en sof comes from the earth. Hakol min ha'oretz, everything comes from the earth. So that's why the earth has power to sustain the plant, and then the plant is eaten by the animal, and that koyach ha'en sof is ingested by the chaya from the plant. And the speaking level, which is the person, takes sustenance, the koyach hasameach, the power of Ein Sof, from both of them, from the vegetation and from the animal. We are plant eaters and meat eaters. And also the power that a person has, Chochma Medas. This is another example. The small child doesn't know how to call his father, father, until he tastes the taste of grain, pablum or porridge, something that where he has to have some investment of the lower level, which contains the Ein Sof, to be able to awaken certain powers in him, the power of speech. He doesn't have the power yet to call his father and mother, until he tastes the taste of grain. And this is also reflected in the Gemara. Rav Nachman says to Rava, Rav Nachman was posed with a question in halacha, and he said, I can't answer the question until I have a taste of meat. In other words, an infusion of the Or Ein Sof from something lower than him, the animal. Kihu bechinas or hoizer. This is what we call or hoizer, reflected light. There's a straight light from top to bottom, and there's the reflected light. And this is why the or hoizer is much stronger, because the or hoizer, the bottom, is where the Or Ein Sof and the power of the Or Ein Sof is invested. The beginning is wedged in the end. From below to above. From the lowest level of the world of Asir, which is the dirt, because in the dirt there is revealed more, with more strength, the ray of the ray of the ray of the Or Ein Sof. The Or Ein Sof, as he says, from the light of the infinite. Asayiv kol almin, which encompasses all worlds, umehakav, and from the kav, the beam of light, Or Ein Sof shebasiyim ragle hayoishes. So if you look at it from the beam, there's all-encompassing light, right? But in addition, there's the Or, which is the Or Mamale, which fills from top to bottom, and the beginning is wedged in the end. This is called the light of the Ein Sof investing itself in the feet of Adam Kadmon, of the primordial man. The begin is Or Choizer, and it comes in a manner of Choizer, that it returns from the bottom to the top. And so the light which is invested down here in the earth, down here below, is reflected back all the way back to just the outside of the Kav, which is called Adam Kadmon. So it's a circle, right? It's all encompassing, but it's also linear from top to the very bottom, and from the bottom way to the top. And from this that we just said will be understood well with good reason, so to speak. Top of page Kuf Lamed Gimel, why the angels, the supernal angels, which are on the chariot that Yechezkel saw, and also there's a chance in the chariot in Bria, there's also a chariot that Isaiah saw more higher in the world of Atzilus. So he saw Pnei Shor u'Pnei Nesha. He saw this chariot, which was steered by an Adam, and the Adam was driving on the right the face of a lion, the left the face of an ox, u'Pnei Nesha, and the face of an eagle in the middle. So Nenem Ha'oid v'Nizunim Mistapek, and the angels, we're talking about the supernal angels, they get a lot of pleasure. The angels, they're fed from this. They get the pleasure of getting fed from the godliness which is coming from these bottom levels, from the animal, the ox and the lion and the eagle and they're getting it from the Ruach HaBehema. They're getting us something. They're being fed by the spirit of the animal and the bird, which rises up to them. From the korbanos. This is what's happening on the altar. The same thing. We take grain, right? We take animal. We take the lower levels, the plant level and the animal level. We offer it on the mizbeach, and you may have heard that it's told that at the time of the temple, the shape of a lion, somewhat spiritual but embodied enough to be able to see it, would come down and take up because it was getting fed. The angels, the animals, they're called the Chayis HaKodesh, right? The wild, holy animals. They're being fed bottom up from the grains and the animals that we're offering up on the Mizbeach. So this is a living example, and God willing, we will see it again in Hid of Yameinu with the building of the Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi, according to the opinion that there will be korbanos in the Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi. We'll see how the animals are taking their nourishment from the bottom up. Ashel Gadol Mizbeach, from the animals, from the korbanos which are brought on the altar. Ukedikta Koloshin HaZohar Kodesh, and this explains the exactitude of the language in the Holy Zohar. It says that these animals, these angels, that they get pleasure and they get their fundamentals and their roots from them. And he uses the word yesod, which is the bottom, the foundation, and the ikr, which is the roots. And that's what he's saying. The exactitude of this language of the Zohar, the angels are getting their stuff from the bottom, from the foundation and the root. So now the Alter Rebbe concludes this letter, this long letter, and says, and here is, we don't have to look for a takeaway. He's going to give us a takeaway. And after saying all these words of truth for the past how many pages? Good number of pages. On these pages, Das Lenovin Knuckle. It should be now easily understood. That's how I'm translating. Das Lenovin Knuckle. The knowledge to the one who understands should be easy. It should be easy to understand. Ulahaven, and to grasp in one's bina. Al Yidei Kol Hanal, through everything we've just said in this letter number 20. It should be easy to grasp. Goydel Malis HaMitzvahs Ma'asis, the great advantage of mitzvahs that are done indeed, in the flesh. Ashehein Tachlis Yeridus and Neshamas, which this is the whole purpose of the descent of our world. The world's purpose is not about spiritual, it's about elokus, godly. And godly, the beginning, is wedged in the end in the physical mitzvahs. So this is the tachlis of the whole purpose of the descent of souls, l'olam hazeh, hagashmi, to this physical world. Mishikosev is a certain hayim la'asoisam. This is the day to do. And we'll make a little diak. Look at the word la'asoisam is asiyah, the world of asiyah. The whole light of day, the whole light of God, yom, is for the purpose of this world. And so because this world contains atzmas, as we learned in the Hayom Yom for today, and Hayom La'asoisam, this is the day to do. And as the expression goes, V'yofa sha'achas b'shuva ma'asim tevim be'olam hazeh, more beautiful, yofa, pretty, beautiful, is one moment of shuva and ma'asim and good deeds in this world, Mikol chai olam haba. Because kol chai olam haba is not essence, just not big lights. Essence is enclosed down here. And essence, we touch, we feel, we grab essence, and we release essence every time we do a mitzvah. And that's today's time.
Essence goes back to the Hayom Yom of Hashem's essence in art.
That's what I said, yeah. Goes back to Hayom Yom. Exactly. Any other comments, questions? All right, then we'll see you, Emir Hashem, tomorrow.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.